We are the stars. We are the planets. We share a fundamental connection with all creation. We are individual manifestations of the subtle oneness. Since the beginning of time, man has turned to the sky for answers concerning that connection, knowing that the sky provides the clues to know our real self. Astrology studies the stars as an external reference to human nature. As above, so below. The basic instrument of astrology is the zodiac, a symbolic elliptical belt made up by 12 signs: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. The basic tool for our astrological understanding is our unique natal chart. Our natal chart is the mirror of our inner celestial space. It is the map of the sky with respect to the Earth at the moment of our birth. As in the solar system, the sun is the central element of our chart. The sign in which this celestial body is at the moment of our arrival to this life is our solar sign. And it is the reflection of the central energy of our being. Therefore, this work, Astro 12, the collection, is centered in the 12 solar signs and its relations with other esoteric traditions.
Your sign, your inner self. The solar sign symbolizes the basic traits of your psyche. It reflects your inner urges, your approach to life. It indicates the way you tend to express your talents. It reveals the way you are prone to handle your fears and limitations. The Scorpio nature is shaped by its position on the zodiac. It is also influenced by its emotional element, water, by the presence of the scorpion, the snake, or the eagle, and by Scorpio's special relationship with the planets Pluto and Mars. The sign of Scorpio transits from October 23rd to November 21st. It is the 8th sign of the zodiac. It is preceded by the 6 more personal signs of the zodiac and by the balanced Libra. Symbolically, the first 6 signs are in charge of self-recognition and the assertion of an individual personality. They prepare us for social interactions and for our encounter with the more complex world represented by the next 6 signs of the zodiac. Libra, the 7th we are sign, taught us to perceive the other as an equal and to establish balanced one-on-one relationships. Now, Scorpio comes to the fore, questioning the superficiality and the formality of the balanced Libra relationship. Scorpios immerse themselves in the deep world of intensity and passion. They will use their cosmic power to create and to overcome crises in relationships in order to transform them, and so bring to life a new union. By doing so, they metaphorically die and are reborn to proceed regenerated into the final stages of personal development, symbolized by the last 4 signs of the zodiac. The element of nature corresponding to Scorpio is water, the source of life. This most primordial and enigmatic of the elements is associated with feelings, sensitivity, intuition, and fluidity. People of the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, are intuitive and emotional. They assess reality from their hearts. They have an intimate contact with the profundity of their psyche. They move easily through the dark waters of the subconscious current. They have a difficult time understanding the objective world. Scorpio people have the greatest emotional intensity of the zodiac. Scorpio is the I desire and the all or nothing sign. Individuals born under this sign are the most powerful of the zodiac. They have a very special connection with the deepest profundities of both the individual and the collective unconscious, with their brightest and darkest sides. This connectivity allows them to serve as a catalyst for change in others. Like people born in the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, Scorpions move through life guided by their likes and their dislikes. However, these subjective reactions of the earth signs come from their sense, whereas those of the water signs arise from their feelings. Scorpion's power is difficult to understand because it is beyond rationality. It generally emerges in painful confrontations needed to accomplish growth. The symbol of Scorpio is the scorpion, a passive, misunderstood creature which only attacks in self-defense. The significance of the glyph is not entirely clear, but we can associate it with the scorpion's sting. The complexity and intensity of the Scorpio has led to the most extreme of them being characterized as eagles or as snakes. The eagle types are aware of Scorpio's regenerative mission. They are generous and noble. They have access to the primal power of the soul and channel their intensity and power to facilitate the transformation and growth of others. Curiously, to enable transformation in themselves, they need to interact with other Scorpio people. The snake types are seldom satisfied with themselves. They project this dissatisfaction onto others and exploit their resources for personal power. They are possessive and destructive. Like vampires, they suck out the emotional energy of others, thereby creating a dependency in them. Like all of us, Scorpios live in a dual world. Hence, they share features of both the eagle and of the snake. The dominance of the one or the other fluctuates according to the changes occurring in their lives and on the level of their personal evolution. Scorpio's psychic energy is feminine and receptive, yin in Oriental traditions. We all possess both active and receptive energies, but astrology reveals the prevalence of one or the other in each sign. This receptive energy gives them their aquatic depth. It reflects their urge to be in constant interaction with their innermost world. It enhances their intensity and their regenerative power. It helps them cope with the inevitable crises inherent to their nature. These features reflected by the sign Scorpio can in part be explained by its intimate relationship with the planets Pluto and Mars. Pluto is the most distant planet in the solar system. Its name comes from the Roman god of the underworld and death. This planet is linked with the duality of death and regeneration, destruction and transformation. Pluto does not respect patriarchal authority and rules. It symbolizes long repressed archetypal feminine forces. Pluto connects Scorpios with the more primal collective instincts. We can see its influence at work in this sign during a period of crisis. At such a time, we feel impelled to reconnect with the eternal wisdom of the ancients, a wisdom which seemed to have been forgotten by modern man. Its recent passage through Scorpio, however, can be linked to the increasing interest in esoteric thinking in the general popular consciousness. On the personal level, Pluto bestows on Scorpios their elemental fluid energy needed to realize their profound transformation. Deep within, Scorpios know that they carry the seed for change, change for themselves and for those who are close to them. They have a constant sense of something germinating within them. They reflect this feeling in their intensity and in their need to bring a touch of reconstruction to everything. This earnestness of Scorpios can often make others feel uncomfortable. Mars, the red planet, is related to the energy and strength needed to activate our inner solar nature. Mars symbolizes both a creative and a destructive force. This planet gives to Scorpios a perception of the world as an exciting battleground. Its energy increases their strength and their passion. Mars helps them to deal with the inevitable transformations brought on by Pluto. Scorpio in action. The inner nature of the sign is perceived through the external manifestations of human form and action. Physically, intellectually, and emotionally, each of us bears the signature of our individual celestial disposition. How we look and how we behave at different stages and in different circumstances in our lives is what characterizes us as born in a particular sign.
The Scorpio body. Astrology finds in the parts of the body connections to the metaphysical world of the zodiac. Each sign has a physical correspondence. Those links follow a descent from the head in the first sign, Aries, to the feet in the 12th sign, Pisces. These connections are the pillars of medical astrology. The parts of the body related to the Scorpio sign are the genitals, the sexual glands, and the urinary and reproductive tracts. Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, is connected to physical changes brought about at different stages of life. Pluto's influence is advantageous for Scorpios, for they realize that change, in whatever form, is a natural occurrence. This sign is associated with transformational crises, often by means of surgical interventions. It is also closely associated with sexual communion. Scorpio people characteristically have an intense, almost hypnotic gaze. They can see what others would not have revealed. Many of them also have a wide forehead, a long neck, and an aquiline nose. They are physically strong and rarely get sick. But when they do, they can rely upon their healing power to restore them back to health. Scorpio is therefore also known as the shaman sign. Scorpions have no concept of moderation. Their tendency towards extremism can drive them to exhaustion or depression. This trait also makes them prone to accidents and to harmful substance abuse. Scorpions need to exercise regularly to counteract the effects of their intensity and their ever-present anxiety. Their affinity with the planet Mars gives them the athletic skills to partake in almost any type of sport. But they tend to prefer activities that require strategy and those using weapons such as fencing and archery. Some of them practice martial arts for its physical and spiritual effects.
The Scorpio child. Scorpio children have a very magnetic personality. They are much more intuitive and wiser than other children their age. They can easily apprehend what others are thinking and feeling. Even when they appear calm and relaxed, they can, at any moment, erupt. They need to be given opportunities to express and channel their volcanic energy. They tend to be secretive, but they act sympathetic and open because they like to surprise others with their power and abilities. Scorpio children, while introverted, are affectionate with family and friends. From an early age, they know that they have both a bright and a dark side. so they have an intuitive, strong sense of what is right and what is wrong. This comprehension of moral duality is what makes them always fight, like Robin Hood, for the cause of the underdog. They do not easily forgive a cruel or an unjust act. These children resist authority and control. They will only accept instructions or advice from those whom they consider to be as just and as strong as themselves. Scorpio children know what they want and will fight to have it there and then. They tend to be critical of less determined individuals. Parents and adults have to show them the importance of patience and to help them understand that they cannot always get what they want when they want it. They also have to sensitize them as to their sometimes unfair critical judgment of others. Young Scorpios need to accept that nobody is perfect, not even they themselves. As they mature, they can grow more troubled and secretive. They might become overwrought by the intense and compulsive nature of their sign. Adolescence is not an easy time for them, even though they try their best to hide their troubles. They feel guilty for living their lives at this stage with such emotional and psychological intensity. Even when outwardly at peace, they sense an inner turbulence. Parents should be especially attentive during this critical stage and gently guide them without pressuring them. Even when their young Scorpio acts aggressively, they must choose their words of correction carefully. Don't worry. It's only a matter of your age, is not the kind of understanding they will either forgive or forget.
The Scorpio adult. Scorpio adults have a strong inner power that emanates from the unconscious and the soul. They have a particular connection with the collective, deeper and darker aspects of their unconscious. They are comfortable with the most fundamental and powerful of their instincts. They are psychic. They are highly susceptible to influences from the underworld and the occult. They willfully explore social taboos. In times past, they would probably have been characterized as wizards or witches. While Scorpios are loving and compassionate and strongly emotional, their familiarity with the darkness of human nature makes them distrustful of others. They have strong tempers, and even while they are innate controllers, they seem to have little control over their own spontaneous and instinctive reactions. It is also difficult for them to deal with sudden and inexplicable disruptions in their lives. They try to protect themselves through sarcasm and by being critical about almost everything. Scorpios are goal-oriented and possess the necessary determination and tenacity to get what they want. They are good at multitasking. For those of the other signs, Scorpio is not an easy sign with which to contend. Scorpios, however, find nothing perplexing in that. After all, they live permanently with the combative energies that their sign represents. Scorpio people move to the invisible pulse that beats at the base of human nature. Of all the signs of the zodiac, they are the most aware of the impulses of the opposite sex which exist within them. The constant meeting between the conscious and the subconscious, between the forces of their yin and yang, stimulates their search for the truth about themselves. They embody the eternal rhythm of life: birth, degeneration, death, and rebirth. Their inner journey is not an easy one, and it can bring pain and disappointments. But Scorpios know they have the ability to overcome these obstacles, and so evolve. They are secretly convinced that they have the power to make anything possible. Moving to the opposite sign. Opposite signs are those signs which are positioned diametrically across from one another on the circular path of the zodiac. When the aquatic Scorpios are in trouble, as when they find their emotions overwhelming them, they escape towards their opposite side, the earthy Taurus. In the productivity and pragmatism of Taurus, they can find the stability to focus their energy and reduce the emotional influences that interfere with their goals. And so they morph from a compulsive I want persona to an I have and I build one. However, their refuge in the opposite sign can lead them to being overly stubborn. Their tendency towards secrecy can become exaggerated when influenced by the Taurian silence. Fortunately, the mimicry of Scorpions with Taurus vanishes quickly. Their inquisitive, profound, and passionate nature will not tolerate for long the passivity of Taurus, nor its attachment to the physical reality. The Scorpio partner. Scorpions need to be loved, but while they may have a very special attraction towards someone, they are not sure at all as to whether they are deserving of that person's love. Thus, they take on a defensive attitude in order to hide their vulnerability and dependence. They take love seriously. They love with great passion and place much importance on caring for their loved one. While they have a tendency to be controlling with their partners, they will only admire a partner who stands up to them. They need constant intensity. They quickly become bored with lukewarm relationships. They may even have clandestine love affairs so as to satisfy their predilection for challenges and secrecy. It is not unusual for them to have more than one significant other. Being overly intense and too controlling are some of the reasons why young Scorpios have trouble in maintaining relationships. They will only achieve emotional stability when they come to understand that their evolution is a solitary path. The most they should expect from loved ones is that they not get in the way of that process. If you are the kind of person who does not like someone who can see through you, and then to top it off, blatantly tells you what he or she sees, do not look for a Scorpio mate. If, on the other hand, you do not mind such honesty, and if you want to have a passionate companion, then a Scorpio may turn out to be an excellent partner. Anyone who has a relationship with a Scorpio will be transformed and will never again be the same person.
The Scorpio male. His emotional strength and mysterious aura make the Scorpio man very attractive. He is passionate, intense, emotional, intelligent, tender, sensual, and loyal. He enjoys romantic and sexual liaisons. His love comes from the depth of his soul. When he is convinced as to the rightness of a relationship, he will suppress any jealous feelings. Scorpios treat their partners with respect and allow them to live their life freely. He is an excellent partner and friend, and is capable of moving mountains to help those for whom he cares. The Scorpio man loves his children with the same passion that he has for everything. He may be strict or even authoritarian, but at the same time be doting and playful.
The Scorpio female. The Scorpion woman has a profound, mysterious magnetism and is feminine, sensual, and passionate. She also is resolute, independent, domineering, industrious, and proud. She can be charming and seductive, but also vindictive and possessive. The traits she most despises are hypocrisy and arrogance. She believes love should be a connection between two souls based on honesty, complicity, complete acceptance, and mutual unconditional support. Should she be unable to find someone who can fulfill these expectations, she will enter into a relationship that is less than ideal. However, since she does not consider that person her soulmate, she will feel free to continue to search for that ideal person. It goes without saying that such an attitude does not bode well for her emotional equilibrium or the stability of the relationship. As she grows older, she comes to realize that her emotional needs really reflect her fears in dealing with her complex nature.
The Scorpio lover. Scorpios of both genders are very passionate. Their passion, however, is not just confined to the sexual act, as is the popular misconception. Sex and love are related in the Scorpio lover's need for an extraordinary experience that goes beyond the normal expectations. To their way of thinking, the communion of bodies signifies the fusion of souls. They are erotic and develop so from an early age. Their inclination to confront social taboos also applies to their sexual attitudes. They are not shy about exploring all types of experiences. When they need to, they can channel their abundant sexual energy into creative endeavors. Scorpio's main erogenous zones are in the genitalia. Amorous foreplay, when concentrated on these and the surrounding areas, bring the passionate love that is characteristic of Scorpio to its fullest intensity.
Scorpio at work. Scorpions relate to work emotionally. They are highly competent at whatever they do. They apply themselves tirelessly. They tend to want to assume a leadership role and always try to be in control. As managers, they bring out the best in their employees. They do everything possible to be supportive of those whom they consider to be deserving of it. Nevertheless, they are distrustful and demand full allegiance. When they work as employees, they use their skills and determination to meet the highest expectations. Economical stability is very important to them, and they are prepared to work diligently to achieve this security. In many cases, they will move to foreign countries to achieve their professional goals or to improve their financial status. It is not a good idea for them to discuss future projects because speculation can have a draining effect on their energies. Scorpio individuals, or those having a strong presence of this sign in their birth chart, are multi-talented and can work in almost any field. It is in their best interests to find a profession that enables them to use the insights afforded them through their connection with the dark mysteries of life. In that sense, they have special aptitudes for psychiatry, psychology, and personal counseling. They can combat disease through medicine. Their shaman talent for healing can be exploited by practicing holistic approaches to curing illness. They can also be excellent pathologists, researchers, and forensic scientists. Politics and media afford them the opportunity to address the needs and interests of those who look for change.
Scorpio at leisure. The intense and impulsive Scorpions find it difficult to enjoy their free time, despite how much they might need to decompress. They prefer to use their leisure time thinking up new projects and for reflecting on their inner journey. They will abandon old interests and adopt new ones throughout their lives. Usually the new ones will be of a more unconventional nature than the previous ones. In this way, they are assured that each new interest will deepen their vital experience, which is what their nature is all about. Pluto, as their ruling planet, grants them the special gift to enjoy their passage through the different phases of their lives, even through to the last one, the approach of death. Eventually, this planet will make them realize that being is more important than doing. With this realization, they will become more aware of their power and will then use their free time for their own personal development. Scorpio and Pluto and Mars in us all. The intuitive and feminine Scorpio sign guides us in the exploration of our inner self. It helps us to discover the most secret and darkest reaches of our nature. It brings to light a profound understanding of ourselves and of others. Any true personal transformation requires accessing the secrets of the human psyche. We need to open ourselves to Scorpio's depth of understanding and strength of conviction to confront our crises and painful experiences. Scorpio will help us understand the purifying power of those experiences and will show us how to rise regenerated from them. Under the influence of Scorpio energy, we begin to realize that some situations serve as important steps to the realization of our potential divinity. Scorpio teaches us that internal balance is the only means to attaining external equilibrium. Pluto is the planet of impermanence. It reminds us of the temporality that is the essence of human existence. The only predictability that life offers is that there will always be change. Pluto helps us understand and accept that. It makes us confront the ghosts of our past and our dependency upon only what we know now. Pluto's influence endures in each sign, so change is inevitable. Pluto points to what we may know, but not to what we will come to realize. If we are ignorant of its influence, we will be confronted by crises until we learn to abandon actions that frustrate our evolution. It moves us to delve into the unknown in the cosmic consciousness that is deep within us all. It is to Mars that we look for the drive and the courage to strive for a creative expression of what it is we find there. Scorpio and the houses of the Zodiac. In the generic wheel of the Zodiac, each sign is related to one of 12 houses. In a numerical sequence, the first sign, Aries, finds itself in the first house, and the 12th sign, Pisces, is located in the 12th house. Thus, the house linked to Scorpio is the 8th one. It is known as the house of death and rebirth. The interpretation of our natal chart, the sign of the 8th house and its planets, offer enlightenment on matters related to our destiny, death, and regeneration. Our profound relationship with death as the predictable transcendence of self. Our connection to love as the promised transformation of self. Our special qualities and secret talents. Our repressed issues and problems. The areas of life in which we are vulnerable and the attitudes we adopt to hide this vulnerability. Our capacity to eliminate psychological issues accumulated since infancy and to accept and manifest our psychic self. Passions which lead us to discover our secret tendencies. Sex as a transcendent energy. The crises we will pass through in order to be reborn. Our contact with intangible matters. Inheritances and the wealth of others, as well as our attitude towards those matters. Our expectations in business. Our secret enemies, the worst being ourselves. However, it should be noted that the emphasis put on any one of these matters in our natal chart or in an astrological reading at a determined moment in our lives depends on other astrological factors, on the interest of the consultant, and on the orientation of the astrologer. Scorpio and esoteric traditions. Astrology is closely related to other ancient and esoteric traditions developed all over the world to better understand the mystery of life. Each of them searches for the meaning of personal existence within the universe. The knowledge and wisdom of all of these traditions comes from the same source. So while they may talk in different tongues, all speak in one voice. And so, through time, correspondences have been established between the solar signs and these traditional schools of thinking. Knowing some of these links gives us the opportunity to explore more deeply other holistic perspectives gleaned from these very rich and important cultures. Tarot. Tarot is an iconic presentation of sacred and esoteric secrets through symbolic pictures. Its history is a matter of debate, but its origins have been said to go back to the most spiritually developed civilizations of the ancient world. The tarot has changed over the ages to such an extent that today it has more than 50,000 different presentations. But only a few of these retain the original symbolism. One of them is the Rider Tarot deck. The main cards of the tarot, called Major Arcana, enlighten the path of our personal growth. The Major Arcanum usually connected with the sign of Scorpio is card number 13, Death or Immortality. This arcanum is connected to the secret forces of change and transformation. It represents internal and external transformation and rebirth. The number 13, assigned to Scorpio and to Tarot's death, is also linked to the Hebrew words achad, or unit, and ageva, or love. The sum of the individual digits, 1 and 3, is 4, which represents the unit, which signifies physical reality. Here there are 4 directions, 4 seasons, and the 4 elements: fire, earth, air, and water. The connection between the number 13 and the physical plane suggests that it is here where human love can be and should be expressed. The symbolism of this key varies in different presentations of the tarot. In some, the central figure is a skeleton bearing a scythe. In others, a knight wearing armor. But it is worth noticing that the configuration of the skeleton is not representative of a human body. Its arms, legs, and the scythe are arranged as triangular shapes, which can be read as symbols of purification or renewal related to death. The scythe is the symbol of the transformational power of Kronos, the god of time. The river and the rising sun in the background of the card represent death as the beginning of a new life. In the Rider Tarot, the skeleton is replaced by the knight. In this card, the knight represents the noble aspect of death. Our real being, our soul, never dies. The knight has a banner with the white lettering, "The Rose of Life," on a black background. This image speaks of the realization that awaits us beyond this mundane life. The black and white emphasize the duality through which the soul has to pass on its return journey to the oneness. The inclusion of a child in this picture indicates that we are all subject to change, no matter at what evolutionary phase we find ourselves. The transformations that emerge at the end of a life are the very basis for the new one. In karmic terms, we are all trapped in the cycle of death and rebirth until we learn the truth of our non-existential being. Scorpio people, to whom this tarot key points, have a special faculty to understand the flow from life to death, and from death to life, and so on and on.
Cabbala, one of the oldest esoteric traditions of the world that permeates Western culture, is the Cabbala, the Jewish mystical tradition. Cabbala gives an explanation of God's nature and the human connection to the divine. That connection is expressed in 32 distinct pathways, symbolized by the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet and the 10 sephirot of the Tree of Life. Recently, this esoteric wisdom has become more and more exoteric. For the first time, the Cabbala is becoming more accessible to everyone. Here, we briefly present the relations that some Kabbalistic schools establish with Western astrology. The Hebrew letter. Hebrew letters have a mystical connection with the creation of the universe. The character of the Hebrew alphabet corresponding to Scorpio and death is Nun. As a noun, it means fish, and as a verb, it means to flow and to grow. This letter evokes the Scorpion ability to grow through what they fish out of the underworld. Like Jonah, swallowed by the whale, Scorpios can be transported by the energy of Nun to the deepest waters of the unknown. There, and only there, they can find the wisdom needed for their ultimate transformation. Nun reveals to them the secrets that lie beneath the solidity of the obvious. These secrets are at the base of Scorpion fertility, productivity, and regenerative power.
The Tree of Life. The Kabbalistic Hebrew spiritual diagram, known as the Tree of Life, conforms to 10 sephirot, representing heavenly man, behind whom is projected earthly man as a shadow. In this diagram, Mars, the ruler of Aries and co-ruler of Scorpio, is identified with the 5th sephirah, or Geburah. This sephirah, representing severity and justice, is located on the left side of the tree in the feminine pillar. It is characterized as a warrior king, which suggests the Greek Ares, the Roman Mars. The energy of this position suggests the discipline needed to confront the processes of change, degeneration, and transformation. This requirement is particularly important for the rebel Scorpions. They have to realize that a constructive use of the Geburah energy can lessen their intense emotionality, thereby opening up the way for them to develop a higher level of consciousness. Yoga chakras. The chakras are psychic centers of consciousness in Hindu yoga. They are the sense organs of the ethereal body that surround the physical body. Some occultist traditions establish a yogic correspondence between the planet Mars and the second energetic center of this ethereal body. This chakra, known as Svadhisthana in the Hindu tradition, is located at the reproductive plexus. Its name means the home of the being, of the essence. It is represented by a circle containing a drop of water or a crescent moon, both symbols of a new life. The water and the moon also reflect the changing mood of aquatic people, most obviously in Cancerians and Pisceans. Even though Scorpios may believe themselves to be in control, they are as transformable as is water. This plexus, the center of sexual energy, is the source of the regenerative and creative power of Scorpio people. For those who believe in reincarnation, this chakra of 6 carmine red petals relates to the task of using yogic power to overcome passions that satisfy mere existential desires. Scorpions should learn how to surpass these needs in their present lives so as not to have to repeat this task in a next one. Some astrologers also establish a link between planet Mars and the 3rd chakra, Manipura, located in the solar plexus. This chakra, related to personal power and self-will, can help Scorpions to use their talents in positive ways.
Alchemy. For hundreds of years, the alchemists have striven to accomplish the magnum opus, the great work. They have studied science, medicine, and astrology in order to discover the philosopher's stone. Their goal has been to find the elixir, that power that will transmute basic metals into gold. But the alchemical great work and the philosopher's stone do not only refer to metals. The great work is also a spiritual quest. That quest involves a 12-stage process through which human beings must pass to attain spiritual regeneration and enlightenment. The philosopher's stone in this process provides the clues to overcome the world of opposites. The sign of Scorpio is linked to the 8th stage of the great work. In this stage, known as putrefaction, the alchemist separates the raw material to obtain the philosophical mercury. In the refinement of consciousness, the mask that results from acquired common values represents this raw material. Scorpio people symbolize the alchemist and the putrefaction process in their transformation from snakes into eagles, who, with a sharp eye, view life from on high as opposed to from below.
Magic. The different Western traditions of white magic link the planet Mars and Scorpio to the weekday Tuesday. The signifying color of Mars is red, the color of energy and aggressive willpower. Scorpio is also assigned the calming color of blue. The mix of these hues is violet, the color of transformation and of transmutation. The trees of identity of Scorpions are the hazelnut and all trees of the forests. Their flowers are rhododendrons and geraniums. They have an affinity with plants with thorns. They attract mineral energy from rubies, garnets, and topaz. Plutonium, sulfate of sodium, and sulfur also figure in their energy field. They are susceptible to the aroma of tobacco and onions. In the non-human realm, they are closely identified with wolves, invertebrates, and insects. On the musical scale, they find their register in Sol, G. Their talismans are the shield, the helmet, and weapons of combat. The practitioners of white magic use the forces of these elements in their rituals to promote a healthy process of destruction and regeneration in the environment and in people's daily lives.
Scorpio and mythology. Astrological charts and mythological stories are mirrors of human nature. Both speak the same language of human beings. Astrology and mythology reflect universal and common values and patterns. It is in the skies that these values and patterns are projected. The mythical gods and goddesses, heroes and heroines act them out. Mythic characters can help us to understand more fully some of the features presented in the solar sign. Greco-Roman culture. The sign of Scorpio finds reference in several mythic tales. Foremost, there is the Greek Hades, transformed into the Roman Pluto, or Dispater, the man of mineral wealth, mined from the underworld. Hades, the god of the underworld, prefers his domain of darkness to any other place on earth or in heaven. Scorpios, like him, seek solitude because in being with themselves, they have the opportunity to explore their own inner space. As absolute authority of the underworld, Pluto lays claim to all metal, mineral, and other riches that can be found down in the earth. Scorpios also can use their power to obtain material, emotional, and spiritual riches through the good use of the raw material of their unconscious world. Hades fell in love with Persephone, the innocent maiden, daughter of Zeus and Demeter, the earth goddess. He abducted her and married her, making her the queen of the underworld. When Demeter discovered that Zeus knew of the abduction and did nothing to prevent the marriage, she retaliated by turning the earth barren. Zeus, fearing for the survival of humankind, forced Pluto to allow Persephone to return to her mother for 6 months of the year. Her reemergence into the world each year parallels the growth cycle of the seasons, as the mother, Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, rejoices by spreading abundance across the land. When Scorpios feel betrayed, they become vengeful, like the furious Demeter. However, when they accept the inevitable, they let their generosity flow. Another mythic character associated with the sign of Scorpio is the Greek god Ares, the Roman Mars, the son of the two most powerful gods of Olympus, Zeus and Hera. He had an impressive demeanor and extraordinary good looks, reflecting the majesty and dignity of both parents. He was the god of war, brave, strong, and aggressive. Because of his bellicose nature, Ares was never popular in Olympus and was not recognized as the protector of any city. All the other deities were jealous of his bearing and his power. They did all they could to diminish his reputation to that of a belligerent tyrant of brute force. He spent most of his life in Thracia, the home of the Amazons. These were warlike women, said by some to be the daughters of Ares. His parents chose the beautiful Aphrodite as his bride, but she would have none of it and married instead his crippled brother, Hephaestus. The vindictive Ares nevertheless continued to lust after her and eventually managed to seduce her. In this myth, we see many Scorpio traits: magnetism, obsessive desires, jealousy, intrigue, vengeance, seduction, and determination. Another mythic character clearly connected to Scorpio is Artemis. The story is that Artemis, feeling betrayed by Orion, conjured an enormous scorpion out of the ground to poison him. The task having been accomplished, Artemis rewarded the scorpion and turned it into the constellation from which this sign gets its name. There are many reasons offered for why Artemis felt offended by Orion. Some say it was because of jealousy. Others point to a fear of abduction, and still others suggest because of an intimation that he would destroy all the animals of the earth. But the one indisputable result is that Artemis behaved in the true spirit of a Scorpio. She sought revenge. Here we are presented with the occult powers and the wisdom of the Scorpio eagles, as well as the vengeful instincts of the Scorpio snakes. In Western culture, snakes and the underworld have a negative association with the finality of death. We can, however, reconcile ourselves to death when we realize that the essence of our being, our soul, never dies. It only passes to another sphere of existence. In the more ancient cultures of the American Aboriginal, the Chinese, and the Sumerian, we see that the snake connotates wisdom and spirituality.
The Sumerian culture. The sign of Scorpio is also linked to the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh. In that classic tale, we find the goddess Ishtar, also known as Inanna. Here is another instance of revenge taken for a perceived slight. Rejected by Gilgamesh, Ishtar orders the murder of his brother, Ekindu. She sends Gilgamesh down to hell so that he can appreciate firsthand the horrors of death. The repulsed Gilgamesh decides to seek an alternative, immortality. His search eventually leads him to the goddess Siduri Sabatu. She informs him that man's mortality is a divine mandate in which there is no exception. Best he go home and fill the rest of his days with merriment and festivities. There are many allusions in this tale to the nature of Scorpio. Gilgamesh's reaction to the death of his brother and to hell speaks of the dread that Scorpios feel when they first confront their own intensity, their obsessions, and their phantoms. The extraordinary lengths to which Gilgamesh goes in the pursuit of his goal reflect the intensity that Scorpios invest in their own strivings. Like him, they are also intent on finding the secrets of their immortality that belie their mortality. Siduri Sabatu's advice suggests that they put aside these egotistical concerns and enjoy life to the fullest.
The Afro-Latin American tradition. From the colonial slave trading days to the present, very old African religious beliefs have influenced Latino American culture. The followers of the Yoruba religion link the planet Mars with one of the 7 potencies, the Orisha known as Ogun. This Orisha, like Ares or Mars, is the god of war. In the syncretism of this tradition with the Christian religion, Ogun is identified in some countries of Latin America with Saint Peter. Legend has it that the newborn Ogun was abandoned in a forest by Obatala. He was later found by Elegua, who raised him. He grew into a strong, healthy young man who was invincible in battle. He married Yemaya, the Orisha who reigned over the sea. But she was not pleased with his long absences as he indulged his lust for battle. Tired of pleading with him, she decided to teach him a lesson. She created a flood that engulfed his battlefield. Mortified that he had been outmaneuvered by a woman, he retreated to the forest of his abandonment and never left it. The point of this legend for Scorpio persons seems to be that they need to establish a harmony that is in tune with the feminine side of their lives. They must forsake the combativeness that they so relish and seek peace in the inner self. Then they will discover the secrets to renewal and rebirth, which they so earnestly desire.
Using the Scorpio potential. The Scorpio's all-or-nothing nature can be complicated and difficult to handle. It is a nature that constantly wavers between the forces of life, death, and transformation. As they progress through life, They must learn to be comfortable with their contradictions. They have heightened intuition and, even in some cases, extrasensory abilities. They should focus these powers on their personal growth, transformation, and inner peace. Those of us with a strong Scorpio influence in our natal charts must confront our emotional attachments. We need to clearly identify the sources of our longings for love, comfort, and reputation. We must use our natural powers to manage the compulsive urges that arise from our I desire nature. We must learn to be less judgmental and controlling, and instead love unconditionally. Only then can we pursue our personal metamorphosis with a truly joyful attitude. However, we must be conscious that each one of us is influenced by the 12 solar signs and all the planets in our birth chart. Studying their position and relations will help us to accomplish the ancient precept, know thyself. Understanding oneself is to understand other humans as well.